Hi everyone, happy New Year's Eve. This is probably not going to be the exciting New Year's Eve video that one might be expecting on the start of a new year, but it is one that I had planned on doing, and it just so happens that it's New Year's Eve that I'm doing it. But I know I had been saying I was going to do one on air, and so I wanted to follow through with that. And even if the timing isn't absolutely perfect, maybe it's perfect for all of us on air to start the new year off on a good note with knowing all of our air options. I have done a video in the past on air as well, but since it's such a huge part of some of our lives, I thought that I would just revisit the whole O2 thing again. Since then, I've learned a little bit more. I've tried some other options, and I'm even more sure than ever about the choices that I've made with O2. So just going over, all the various types of O2 there are to get. It would be for in-home concentrators. There's generally the big tan unit that our insurance provides, which I think is by Lincare. I'm not sure, but that's the big tan concentrator that most of us have in our homes, providing us with air, from a regular outlet plug, and the unit stays plugged in at all times, and basically provides us with oxygen when we're at home. Another option that most of us get are the tanks. These tanks can work in the house, or some of the people are on low enough that they can carry the smaller tanks or roll the larger e-tanks along with them for travel use. And for your day-to-day outings and stuff, they're not allowed on airplanes. But for day-to-day outings and, going anywhere by car or, anything like that, they work out. And then we also have the smaller concentrators, the battery-powered ones that, depending on what your O2 needs are, you have options there. And those are usually pulse settings, so not continuous airflow. And that can decide whether certain people can use them or not. Some people don't have enough inspiration to actually trigger the pulse mechanism in a device, and some people just can't keep their oxygen saturation level up on those devices. So that just depends on what you're able to use. Another option that I tried in this past year was liquid oxygen. And I was lucky enough to have a supplier here that had a unit that I could use for a couple days to give it a try and see what we thought. That can also be used in-home for continuous, if you choose liquid oxygen, then you would give up the TAN unit, the Lincare unit, and they would bring a big reservoir to your house, and then you would get all your oxygen from there. And they can also provide you a liquid oxygen concentrator that you would fill from that large reservoir for going out. And they can, in addition, provide you with a reservoir for your vehicle if you have maybe an SUV or a minivan or something like that can hold they're pretty tall, the reservoirs are, so I wouldn't say it would fit in a regular car, but if you have a vehicle that can hold the reservoir, you can also fill your concentrator while you are out, by storing the reservoir in your car. I tried those, and needless to say, I was not a fan. Now I know that there are tons of people who love their liquid oxygen. For me, I've used my battery powered concentrator for on the go kind of stuff for so long that I think that there were just some major differences with the liquid oxygen that wasn't for me. I'll go over those in a little bit. I am probably the pickiest person as far as oxygen that you may ever meet. I have, in addition to that, I have another concentrator. It's the Inogen 100, and it is a continuous flow. It's, I would call it semi-portable because I use it. I can fit it in a travel suitcase, a carry-on size travel suitcase. And it's what I bring along on my trips to get continuous flow when I'm in a hotel room. So it's not something that can run on batteries or anything, but it's like a full-size concentrator that's pretty lightweight, that is easy to bring along on trips. And I will show you that as well. But each of my concentrators has a specific purpose for me. So the two that are provided to me by my insurance are the Lincare, the big brown one, and the tanks. The Inogen 1.3 is the battery-powered one that I take with me places, and this one I purchased myself. Some people can get those ones or a similar one like it to be purchased from their insurance. The reason I did not go that route, and you should be aware of this as well, is if the insurance buys it for you, or pays for a rental unit, they will take away the tanks. So you will only get one portable type of oxygen, so the tanks would be replaced by the battery powered one. And for me, I use the tanks a lot. They are my favorite source of air, so I was not willing to give up the tanks to get the portable, but I still really wanted the portable. So I purchased the portable myself. This particular unit, the Inogen 1, is, I think, personally the best one on the market for battery length of time of operation. For the output, 1 to 4, or some units have 1 to 5 on pulse, and just the amount of time that the unit can run, the ease of carrying it, and I'll show you some tricks on another video that I have for carrying my portable around. I've found some pretty ingenious ways of carrying it, and you know, depending on what I'm doing, I have ways of carrying it in a way that's convenient for the day for whatever I'm doing. So on my next video I will show you some of the ways that I do that. But in this video I really wanted to just focus on the types of air. So the reason I think I'm so picky about the air, and I have so many different options, which I also did purchase the Inogen 100, that other unit, myself as well, because obviously the insurance isn't going to provide me with all these different types of air. So the only thing that I use, the Lincare, the brown unit that comes with my insurance, the only thing I use that for is when I'm laying around the house. If I'm not doing anything, watching TV, just sitting around, you know, not doing much, milling about the house, I'm hooked up to that machine. If I'm doing anything that requires any strenuous type of effort, if I'm doing dishes or laundry or cleaning or vacuuming, carrying stuff around, putting up and taking down Christmas trees, anything that I'm doing that's active, if I'm exercising, all that I do with the large e-tanks. So By far, I prefer to exercise or do anything of strenuous activity with the e-tanks. I think that the air that you get from the tanks has the highest concentration of O2, and it works best for keeping my oxygen levels up while I'm moving around. So I prefer those. I can take them outside if I'm doing something in the yard. I can put it in a garage and just have a long hose and reach quite a few places, or I can take it out back in the backyard and I can swim and, you know, just set it up by the patio doors and have access to my full backyard, and I can swim and, you know, do anything with the e-tanks without fear of electrocution or anything like that. So by far that is the one that I am most active around the house with. Then the Inogen 100, the other, what I call semi-portable, but it has to be plugged in, so that's the one that I take with me to use in hotel rooms. I like that one for even at home. I keep it in my bedroom. The one thing that you should know about all concentrators is that they are meant to be used, so they will last longer if they are used some every day. So when I'm not on vacation, I keep that one in my bedroom, and that one has specific dials. So in other words, you choose your air amount. It's continuous flow. You could choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I like that because you're choosing your air number. Anybody knows who's used the Link Air, the big tan concentrators, it has a dial where you kind of choose about where you're at. So you never know if you have it exactly on 2 or exactly on 2.5, or you're kind of left guessing. And so with the Link Air ones, I don't like to move the dial around a lot. I generally tend to find a place on a dial that works for me to keep my oxygen up at the lowest output that I can keep it at, like when I'm sitting around doing nothing. And I leave that dial there. Then when I'm upstairs and like I'm getting ready to shower, or I'm making the bed or cleaning my bedroom or doing vacuuming or anything upstairs, I go ahead and I connect to that Inogen 100 that has exact numbers on the dial, and that way I can turn the air up and know exactly where I'm at. So like for instance, if I'm doing dishes or anything, I'll have the e-tank downstairs and I'll turn that up to 2.5, and that's enough for laundry or dishes. Vacuuming might require 3. Exercising, if I'm working out really hard, usually I'll do it at 3, but if I'm working out really hard, sometimes I might get up to 4. With that Link Air, the tan machine that doesn't have the exact numbers on the dial, I just try to leave that one all the time the same, sitting for doing nothing. You know, that's the one that I sleep with, that's the one that I sit around with, and I never change that dial. The reason I got skeptical about changing the dial is sometimes I mess with it, or it gets messed with, and then I feel like I'm getting too much air, not enough air, and then I have to end up messing around with it for a week before I start feeling right again. If you get too much air, it can kind of have you feeling like kind of loopy, and same with not enough air. You can kind of feel forgetful and different things. You might just feel not all the way able to focus and stuff. So I found that it's pretty important to get, you know, the correct amount. And I try not to overdo it with the saturation levels. You know, I try to keep it at like 94, 95. And not overdo it. And a lot of times what will happen too, I see with people, is they will think that they need more air, so they'll turn the air up, but without even checking their O2 stats. So you want to definitely have the oximeter for your finger and check your stats, because sometimes when you think you need more air, it's just a feeling that you're getting, and your stats are actually okay. I think that our bodies get greedy sometimes, and so it will trick us into thinking that we need more air, and Not saying that this happens for everyone, but for sure I've seen it happen with me where I feel like I need more air. Like, let's say I've had the air turned up to 2.5 and I've been busy most of the day. Then when I turn it down to 2, again, to relax, sometimes I'll feel like I'm not getting enough air. But if I check my stats, it shows that I am. So I think that people can get into a situation where they continuously need more air. So, like, if you think about it, when you first put the air on your nose, the very first time when they first told you that you needed oxygen, you put it on your nose and you could feel the air blowing in, and it felt like kind of a windstorm in your nose. But then after you had it for a while, you sometimes have to check to see if you can even feel, is there air really coming out? Because you can't feel it at all in your nose, so you kind of have to take and check it on your lip or wherever and just see if you feel the air. Our body gets used to that feeling, and then I think we want to feel the air coming out, so people have a tendency to turn it up, and then once you get used to that amount, then you can't feel it again, and then you think, okay, I need more air. So I think people can get into a situation where they keep driving their need for air up, 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 and if you're not careful and check your stats, it's one thing for your stats to say that your O2 is low and you need more air. It's another thing to feel like you need more air, but your stats aren't low. So you definitely want to pay attention to that, because you don't want to get to a space or a place where you're taking in 6-10 liters of oxygen just because you need to feel that flow into your nose, not because your body doesn't need it. It'll do loopy things to your head. It will probably mess with your CO2 retention. So there's a lot of things that can come from that. Plus, probably nothing good will come from it about you being able to get out and about needing that much air. So I always try to, keep the air that I'm providing my body at a minimum level that is needed to keep my O2 up. So just be aware of that. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything else in particular that needs to be said. The pulse works for me, like I said, with that little machine. The pulse works for me as long as I'm not like rushing around and hurrying, and like I don't exercise with that. If I was going to go out somewhere to exercise, like if I was going to go to a gym or somewhere, I would definitely take an e-tank with me. I wouldn't be able to exercise with that. I do my 6-minute walk with that, and I continue to do my 6-minute walk with that, for one, because I started doing my 6-minute walks with that, and I want something constant to know if what I mean is the same. I don't want to start changing in the middle of my 6-minute walks. When I say constant, I don't mean the airflow is constant. I mean, I don't want to start changing what I'm using in the middle of the 6-minute walk, because I want to keep track of if I'm doing better, worse, or the same. I started my 6-minute walks with that machine, and I continue to do them with that machine. And that's kind of how I keep track of whether I'm still doing okay or if I'm starting to need more. As long as I know I can still do my 6-minute walk and my oxygen levels stay up, then I'm doing pretty good. So that's kind of my test of whether I can continue to use that machine. If you're wanting to get one of these machines and use a pulse machine, certainly you could talk to your doctor about it. Sometimes there are companies that you can borrow one from and give it a try. I do have to say that with these machines, the ones that are rented, so your insurance company might pay for a rental, they're not nearly as dependable as the ones that are purchased new and that you take care of them. People are generally hard on the machines, so people that I've talked to that have rented them have a lot of trouble with them. They're constantly turning them in and getting different ones, and they need to be repaired or replaced. And it's, I think, in general, because when they change hands so many times and they're given to different people in different situations, they're not necessarily cared for in a manner that you would take care of your own stuff. I have to say that with this machine, I've had it now going on 3 years, and I have never had an issue other than regular maintenance care. It's never quit on me. I've never had an issue with it. So I think very highly of the Inogen 1-3 machines. It's been super dependable for me. I don't know what their length of life is, but I know that for me it's lasted 3 years now, and I use it a lot. I mean, we are sometimes gone from morning till night, sometimes 4 days out of the week. So I have this machine going a lot. Its battery length is amazing. I also can plug it into my car lighter whenever we get in the car, so if we're shopping or going to malls or whatever, I can take it in, and then when we get back in the car, I can plug it up, and it'll a lot of times be charged completely by the next time that we get out of the car. So I love that device. I can't say enough about it. It is heavy to carry all day, but like I said, I'll share with you some of the ways that I carry. There's just no way around it, though. There is some weight to it. But other than that, yeah, I just think that each person has to really explore all of your O2 options to find out what's most comfortable for you. And I think as long as you're aware of the fact that if you request something from the insurance as far as O2, that they will only pay for a certain number of options. So always ask what you're going to have to give up. Like if you want a battery operated one, do they pay for that in addition to your tanks? So like just know exactly what you're giving up, or ask questions just so that you can make an informed decision. And if you're trying new stuff, get out and try to find companies that will let you use the equipment for a day or two. You can usually get a really good idea of if it's something that will work for you. Like the liquid oxygen concentrator, I would have had to spend another $2,500 to get that concentrator, and I just didn't want to take a chance that it wouldn't be something that I didn't like, and then I would spend that kind of money on it and then not even use it. So it took me a while to find a company, but I found one that loaned me one to use just for a couple days to get an idea, and I am so glad they did, because I would have completely wasted my money had I not just tried it first. So I'm really glad for the choice that I made, and you could do the same with the concentrators too. Another thing should be said, that you don't really want to purchase one in general used from someone, and if you do, you need to know how many hours the machine has, and you would need it thoroughly cleaned prior to use, because you don't want to be taking in anything that came from them or their home or their situation. So yeah, you always, if you do purchase something used, or if you're getting a rental from a company, inquire about how they clean their machines and how often it is at each time it changes hands, or just get as much information as you can. It's all about your house, so you want to just make sure that you're not exposing yourself to any unnecessary risks. So here, let's go walk through real quick and just take a look at the other units that I was talking about, just so that we make sure that we're on the same page. So we know that we were talking about this unit here for sure. That's the Inogen 1-3, and that one is $2,500. Some people's insurance will cover it, but they usually will not pay for the tanks and that machine. That machine only does pulse, and it does pulse from on settings 1 through 4. It should also be noted that pulse settings are not the same as when you say you use a number 2 continuous flow. It's not necessarily the same because 2 liters per minute is delivering 2 liters per minute to you. The pulse is not going to be a per minute type thing because it's per person's inspiration. So when you take a breath, you're given a certain amount of air, whatever that machine delivers. So the numbers 1 through 4 or 5, whenever you're talking about pulse, is not LPMs, just so that you understand. It's just a label for, I don't know how you want to say it, but it's not a specific scientific thing. It's just a number given to, to the setting, I guess you could say, but it's not a scientific exact amount. So you can't say that if you're on 2 liters continuous, 2 LPMs of continuous flow, that you would be on 2 for sure of pulse, because it's not equivalent. So you might be on 2 liters continuous, but you might need a 3 pulse setting to keep up with your oxygen needs. That's why it's important to not just purchase a machine because you think, okay, I'm on 2 and it does 2 pulse and so I should be okay. You want to make sure that it's going to work for you and keep your oxygen flow up. So you want to definitely give it a try and check and make sure that it will work for you, because the settings are not the same. And each pulse machine is a little bit different as well. So we'll go have a look at the other 2 machines that I use, just so that there's no confusion or clarification with what my insurance provides. Okay, so now I'm upstairs, and this is the concentrator that I thought was Lincare, but it's actually Ivocare. So that's the one that is provided to me from my insurance, and this is the one that I'm hooked up to pretty much most of the time here at home when I'm sleeping or doing nothing. It's also the one that I was talking about. It doesn't have an exact for the dial. It's just a floater ball, and that's what I don't like about it as far as dialing in your exact air amount. So this is, I think, the same one that most insurances provide, and it has, in my opinion, a generally low content of O2, so they have to have, like, I think up to 84%, but the canisters have like 99%, so concentration of O2. So I think generally when I turn this one up, it fills you up with more air, but not necessarily O2. So I think that's why when I get to the dial at the wrong amount, it feels like my lungs are full, but it doesn't necessarily help me to breathe better. So I try to keep it at 2 exactly, and if I need something turned up, I will go to a different machine so that I don't have to mess with this one at all, because it's really hard for me to get it positioned where I need it and feel comfortable. So this is the one that provides probably the longest, supply, because you're hooked up to that a lot of the time when you're at home doing nothing. The next one that I have is the one I take for in the rooms at the hotel when we're on vacation. It's also the one that I use if I'm cleaning upstairs or showering or just anything with activity and I'm upstairs. I don't bring the e-tanks up here, so this works out great. It gets use every day from my activities that I do upstairs, like making a bed and stuff like that. So it gets use every day like the machine should, and it's lightweight and packs into a travel suitcase nicely. It does continuous flow, and as you can see, it has specific dials, exact numbers. So when you put it on a certain number, you know for sure that it is the same setting as the last time that you chose. The air hose hooks up to right here, power button, and then you can just increase the settings. And so this is the one that I travel with for in-room, and also use here just to keep it so that it's being used. It is an Inogen 100, and it is not supplied by my insurance. It is a machine that I purchased myself. So I like it. I've had 0 problems with it so far, and it travels well. So that is it for today. I hope that I have not babbled too much. I'm not sure if I got across all the points that I wanted to get across today with the O2 and everything, but hopefully some of the information you will find helpful. As for today, New Year's Eve, enjoy your New Year's Eve. I will be up till midnight. We watch usually the festivities going on TV, and we cook a special lobster dinner, and we just have fun generally in the safety of our own home, which we've been doing that for many years because I generally don't like being out with the crazies even before I was put on O2. So this routine is nothing new for us. But definitely enjoy your New Year's Eve, and I look back at an absolutely fantastic 2017, and I'm looking forward to more of the same for 2018. Have a good one.